See the stallion. Drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
We're in the service. Rewinding back to the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mike on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind. Tom and Mike. Tom Stevens here. Mike Melby here, right over there. We're basically both here in the same studio. We do it every Sunday. Talk a little Husker football, talk a little Husker volleyball. And we always have her on, if it's volleyball season, Tanya Taki of Husker One and one of the great middle blockers in Husker history. Hey, Tanya, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. I'm guessing you watched a little Husker volleyball last night?
I did.
And
I got
weekend?
my BTN Plus subscription going, and I watched some volleyball. It was great.
We said it in the studio, and I want to get your take. It felt like maybe, especially when you consider that you don't have your best middle blocker, Becca Alec is out, and you bring Mendelson in and you shift some faces around, it felt like that is one of the better performances and something that John Cook said about his team last night. Did you agree with him?
Yes, I actually thought that maybe being able to, hit off of anyone and anywhere and having hitters show up in different places, running a 6-2 and having girls stay in, Lowenstein sometimes stays outside, sometimes stays right side, and, kind of mixing that up. Mendelson has been a middle before. She's come, shown up in the middle by running some different plays on serve receive into the middle. So it's not something foreign to her. And I just feel like this system has made them versatile in that regard.
Seems like Kennedy Orr made some improvements from the general first, 14 games of the season. It seemed like she played a lot better this weekend, though. What were your thoughts?
Yes, I actually thought she did, manage her hands and her feet better from what I could see. Obviously the cameraman and the angle is going to, determine a lot of that for me when I'm watching on TV. But just from the way it sounded on the radio when I was listening, I think maybe 2 games ago, that it sounded like Kennedy was going to do less jump setting because then that puts her in a better position, or maybe she's supposed to jump set and that's going to put her in a better position. I couldn't really tell which way she was trying to set, but I thought she did a really good job of managing where her hands were to every ball.
Tanya Taki, coach of Husker One, one of the great middle blockers of all time. They're now in first place in the Big Ten. And you talked about your concern about the setting, and you got a nice performance from a youngster in the program in Kennedy Orr this weekend. What is your big concern going forward with Husker volleyball?
I don't know that I have a concern. I'm a fan. I like to watch. I like to analyze. I like to, use some of the things that I see to help coach my kids that I coach. And I think, the biggest concern is going to be the schedule coming up when we start playing, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Penn State. Those are going to be big tests. And just seeing how we respond to that. Sometimes, with us being versatile, then you don't have that rhythm. I'm not sure I feel the rhythm yet. I know last year I didn't feel the rhythm until pretty much the tournament. It just felt like we were out of rhythm. They were mixing people in and out. Every day I looked up on Facebook to see who the starting lineup was. We weren't in a rhythm yet. And I feel like that's the only thing that I feel like we're missing. And I guess it's still the first week of October. So here we are.
Now you mentioned they're going to start playing the upper echelon of the Big Ten. That starts Friday, 7:30 against Penn State. What have you seen from Penn State so far this year? What are your expectations going into that match? And then as well, Sunday's match against Northwestern.
I got to think that girl's name in the back of my head. It's like Merriweather or something. That girl is just humongous on the right side and just humongous in all of the most feminine, beautiful ways. She's just so good. And I don't know what we have, to stop that on every block setup, but that's one thing that the Huskers are doing amazing is block. and this girl can block just about as good. So I think that's one thing. I just feel like the setter on Penn State is just a gamer. She's making things happen. She's putting her hitters in the best position. So probably those two facets of their game would make me nervous. And then Penn State, it's Penn State. They never let the ball drop. They're super scrappy. They have 20 girls on their roster, and they'll rotate in somebody that'll dig a ball.
Tanya Taki, coach of Husker One of the great middle blockers of all time. We had a discussion about, whether or not they're playing their best volleyball. And you mentioned that Nebraska, you didn't think played their best volleyball. And I would agree until in the tournament, and maybe late in the tournament, they were playing their best volleyball. Is that something that you like, in that you don't want this team maybe to peak too early?
Right. I mean, especially when you're bringing in like super early, freshmen, and we have like all these super seniors. So you just have like different aspects of the players, and they're coming together as a unit. And I think you want to develop as many weapons as you can. I mean, obviously, in the blink of an eye, you can lose a player. We haven't seen Nicklin in, 3 to 3 weeks maybe now.
Yep.
And that could be any of our hitters. They land on, somebody's foot, we lose an ankle, they're out for 2 weeks. And it just, when you're this early in the season, you need to be having more than one option at more than one position. So I think we're seeing that at the setter position. We're seeing that on both pins. We're seeing that we have 3 people capable of playing middle. So those are the things that we're looking for going into the tournament, is what's going to make us most successful. One of the things I've noticed was Mendelssohn served really well. So if we switch Becca Alec and Mendelssohn, then Mendelssohn serving, and I know Becca comes in as the right side, but they can base differently. I mean, that might be something that they look at if Mendelssohn's going to be such a good server. She had a couple of aces, and I don't believe I saw an error, but I wasn't watching every single set point.
One thing that you mentioned about Penn State, they never let a ball hit the floor. They're tremendous defensively. Yes. Nebraska's pretty good too. They hold, I want to say, Michigan State to 0.31 hitting percentage on Thursday. And then last night, Lexi Rodriguez, not her best career performance, but still 25 digs, second best career performance. What is it about her and liberos in general that make them as good as they are? Lexi just seems like an anomaly. Like she's able to anticipate and do things other people can't or don't. I don't understand it well enough, other than just going wow, and probably a couple of words I can't use on the radio about how impressive she is. What is it about Lexi and the way she plays that position, and just liberos in general?
Right. So I think part of making a great libero is that when you have a great block to play around, so you know that your block is going to take away a certain area, and then you have the rest. At Nebraska, we've been putting up some serious blocks in the last 10 years. And so our systems and our defense is set up around having a solid block. And so if Lexi can get herself in position to see the hitter, once you can see the hitter, if you can put yourself in position to dig a ball before if your digger knows where the hit's going to go before they hit it, that's what great liberos are made of. And I've seen that in a couple of players, and Lexi definitely has that.
She was a freshman of the year. She was the freshman of the year in 2021. She was a first-team All-American. She's the best player, I think, on this team. Is she the best player in the Big Ten?
I would say, from what I've seen, I haven't seen enough. We haven't played enough of the teams. I have watched a couple of games where the Huskers weren't in, when it was Minnesota, Penn State, in those games. But I mean, it's hard to once you've raised your level to that point and kind of have all eyes on you. That's when people are like, okay, well, is she as good as people are saying she is? Is she as good as people are saying she is? And I feel like she's given them no reason to think less of her.
Oh.
They're only making it better. So if she's already the freshman of the year, she's already an All-American, like she's doing absolutely nothing that's going to make her drop down lower than being the best in the country. And
she's the kind of player that just frustrates the heck out of you. You bomb it at her, and she just, it's like Wong or Rantes. You can't get it on the floor against her some nights.
Right.
It's
right. And her serve receive also, being able to serve receive, that ball can move, it spins, it floats, it changes directions. And if you can be a great serve receive passer and put the ball on the money, that's what's going to win you a championship. I believe that's what when the Huskers won in Kansas City, we passed better than Florida, and Florida had 6'8" girls. If we could just pass the ball in front of the 10-foot line, you give it to a 6'8" girl across the net, and it was down. But we served so well that they couldn't pass to their six and get to the ball to their 6-8. And we're passing so well that we have options. And so I feel like right now our passing, our serving when we serve in bounds, our blocking is what is keeping us in the top 3 and number 1 of Big Ten. And if we could just get the set hit combination a little better, when the announcers are saying, oh, the hitter had to, stop and go backwards on that one, that's a setter hitter connection that needs to be fixed. And that's what we need to work on in the next 2 months.
Now, you mentioned serving. One question that I have, we talked about Whitney Lonstein last week, and she gets on some service runs and she serves a knuckleball. And when you're receiving a serve, for you, what is the most difficult serve to be able to pass properly to give your setter a chance, to give a hitter a chance to make a play? Is it a knuckle? Is it something that's just got so much top spin you don't know when it's going to drop? What is the serve that just frustrates you, or you think frustrates other girls the most?
Right. So, the knuckleball, I guess the word I would use with knuckleball is when the ball looks like it's coming at you and then it floats high and that makes you reach. So it basically changes directions. I think Micah Hancock had one of the best top spin, side spin serves. It looks like it's coming to you and then it ends up between the two of you on a top spin, side spin serve. I honestly think if your serve is a little bit different in any regard, it's more aggressive than anyone else, if that makes sense. So I know the top spin serve isn't as popular. I think Jordan Larson had one of the best top spin serves, and then the national team changed it because their philosophy is a float serve that changes directions is harder to dig. But if you have a top spin serve and the rest of your team is serving a float, then when you go back there to serve, it's different, and then it makes them think differently and move differently, and you have a different touch on the ball. You're going to get aces because of that. And I think the Huskers do a good job of having a couple of girls who serve a little different.
It should be fun. They've got Penn State this week. They host the Nittany Lions, and then Maryland when we have you on the air on Sunday next week. Tanya Taki, coach of Husker One and one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history. What's going on in Husker One, at Husker One?
Well, it's actually Nebraska One.
I'm sorry, Nebraska
earlier.
One. Sorry, Nebraska One.
It's Nebraska One. But we're all Huskers, and it's all Nebraska, so it's fine. Everybody knows. We actually have tryouts on Monday this week and Wednesday this week. So if you have a daughter that wants to be on a team for the next season, just go to nebraska1.com and click team.
There you go. Thank you, Tanya, coach of Nebraska One and our analyst on this show every week. Good stuff. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
Tanya Taki, Nebraska One. I apologize for that. Longtime coach there and one of the great middle blockers of all time. I think, this is the type of weekend where you might look back and think, we'll see if they've turned a corner. I don't know if the Nebraska volleyball has or has not turned a corner. But you learn sometimes about your freshmen when things get hairy. And Michigan was the best Big Ten team, I think, that they played to date, or at least recently for sure. And you got a good performance out of Kennedy Orr. I think that's the one thing we're wondering about. Because you don't have Nicklin Hames available. And Kennedy Orr had a great game. I wouldn't want to say great game, but I think her best game and a very good game for her.
Well, the one thing that I keep coming back to with this Nebraska volleyball team is the depth. And it's part of the reason why they're running the 6-2 as opposed to a 5-1 to the point where they can get all of those hitters some swings. But Nebraska is without, arguably the best setter in the Big Ten, or one of the two best setters in the Big Ten in Nicklin Hames. And she's not even playing the position this year for the most part. And she's been out with injury. And, Ani Evans and Kennedy Orr. Kennedy Orr's had a couple of struggles, and Ani Evans is just that stereotypical grinder that just gets it done, just makes the simple plays, the smart plays all the time. And, now Maggie Mendelson, who didn't play a whole lot in the first handful of matches. Oh, by the way, here we go. Best Big Ten team we've seen. We need you to jump right into the mix and be somebody who leads us. Oh, a couple of service aces, and just the depth on this team is insane. Yeah. And I think back, I've always been a slightly more than casual volleyball fan. I don't know that I've ever realistically known the name of all of the players.
Yeah.
I know the name of all of the players because they're all getting shots to play, and it's not just in blowouts. It's because they're that good And at times they have to due to injury or illness.
I think we're right in saying Lexi Rodriguez is their best player, and you just take an advantage or for granted that she's going to get 25 digs in a game. I mean, that's how good she is. I think she's so good that sometimes you just take her for granted, and we don't always mention her as the best player on this team. She's probably the best player in the Big Ten, but I'm thinking, who outside of that is the best player on this team? And that's probably a good thing that I don't have an immediate answer because there's so much depth.
Well, yeah, you have a 3-time All-American in Caitlin Horde at middle. You have a true freshman in Becca Alec that more than holds her own in the middle. You have Maddie Kubik. You have Whitney Lonstein. You have Allie Batenhorst, who's been fighting injuries all year. Maggie Middleton has come in and been tremendous.
Lonstein's been incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just hard for me to say after, but probably Caitlin Horde has all the accolades, so you might go there. But this is a team that Batenhorst had 7 kills. Kennedy Orr really stepped up, 25 assists. I think it's, Lexi Rodriguez is the best player on this team, but there is some serious depth on this team. And we didn't even mention Maddie Kubik, I mean, we did.
Well, she had 15 kills and hit 531 yesterday.
So she might be your best player. But the fact that we don't have an immediate answer all the time because it's somebody different all the time, I think is a good thing.
Oh, big time. Well, and last year was so discombobulated with, the super senior season. And then, Lexi's son got outplayed and she just simply, somebody earned the position over her and Allie Batenhorst. And then the deal with Lauren Stivrins, where is she coming back? Is she not? And the injury that she suffered that really kind of slowed Nebraska down in the NCAA tournament in 2020, but she finally recovers from it completely, comes back. And it took her a while to get into the swing of things. You could tell that whole team was just kind of discombobulated, leading to what, Tanya was talking about a little while ago about how it seemed like they didn't really gel until it was tournament time. And then it was just lights out.
Yeah. It's almost like if you want to say best player on the team, well, our best middle blocker is Caitlin Horde. Our best hitter is most athletic is Lonstein. Probably the best all-around player is Maddie Kubik. You could say it 100 different ways.
Well, and that's the whole thing is it depends on the match. Yeah. That's the other thing, and that's what's been so interesting and so nice. It speaks volumes. It reminds me a little bit of the Nebraska basketball teams that had the Pikes and that had Terrence Badgett and had Rich King and they had Tony Farmer
and Teron Lewis, probably the best player of those players.
But it was one of those where on any given night, one of those guys would just not have it. But somebody else would be like, instead of averaging their 11-7, they go for 23-12. And it was one of those just fun teams to watch. And boy, I'll tell you what, you want to be entertained, see athleticism, and showcase women's sports. Go watch a college volleyball game, specifically if Nebraska's playing. It's insane.
All right, well, 8,000 do go watch it every time they appear at the Devaney Center, and it's always a sellout. And they are a great product. But it reminds me of some of the Alabama teams now, or the Duke basketball teams, where it's one All-American replacing another All-American, and then an All-American that replaces the other All-American is sometimes better than that All-American, to the point where Lexi's son, after being a decorated 3-time All-American, doesn't even play. That's what you're talking about with Husker volleyball right now. It's not because she's not good. She's really good. The other girls are so good that you can't beat them out. You can't always beat them out. And it's fun. I love that type of competition that Nebraska has. Let's get to break and come back. I do have a nominee myself for Get Off My Lawn.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Your Cowboys, they win?
I don't know.
I think Cooper Rush won again. Your backup quarterback. I'm telling you, the guy's just give him the MVP right now. Cooper Rush for the Hall of Fame and MVP. Let's get back. We're back with more. The final segment of Husker Rewind is coming up next. He's Mike Melby. I'm Tom Stevens.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club or space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over. Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Hey, buying a used vehicle sucks, and the biggest problem is who can you trust? Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto out here at West O Street in Lincoln. Here's what customers have told us they want from us. They want transparent pricing with no games. We have all of our pricing on our website, plus a Carfax report. We don't want to buy a lemon. We include a 3-month warranty on all of our vehicles. We don't want to play games. Just make it simple. You saw that with non-commissioned salespeople. Can you trust us? Just check out our Google reviews. Again, this is Carl from Price Right Auto in West O. Check us out at pricerightauto.com.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
This is the Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Husker Rewind. The legend Tom Stevens sits across from me. My name is Mike Melby. And I want to tell you that if you are in the need for any concrete work, egress window work, new driveway, new patio, new walkway, call the guys at Kramer Concrete. Tim and Lee do a fantastic job. They've got well over 20 years of experience in the business and do an amazing job. They're super inexpensive. They are super reliable. They get back to you in a timely manner. And I cannot think of a better group of guys that you could go to get some concrete work done other than Kramer Concrete. Give them a call, 402-560-0670, and promotional consideration paid for by Kramer Concrete. And Tom, the other thing I want to let you know is that there's this really cool podcast I stumbled on. It's called Nebraska Gems.
Yep.
I heard a rumor that they're going to have an interview with the guy that runs the Lincoln Children's Zoo.
Oh, he's got a great story, and he's made the zoo into what it is today, to the point where it's the second largest tourist attraction in the state. It's the largest tourist attraction in Lincoln, Nebraska. John Chapo is stepping down in the next couple of years. He's now president emeritus. So he no longer runs the zoo, but he shows up every day, and he still fundraising is kind of where he shifted his focus. But he has done so much for the Lincoln Children's Zoo. He's an amazing guy. And he's one of the smartest guys I know. We're going to be interviewing him this week. It'll be up at NebraskaGems.com, but we've had Clayton Anderson, we've had Jim Ballard, we've had John Baylor, we've had a number of great interviews, and we just want to keep them going. And we will, but it would really help you, us, if you listen to some of these great podcasts, and we want to focus on the great Nebraskans that we have here in the state, and for you to get to know them as people as well. And John Chapo has done so much for the city of Lincoln. It's hard to believe how much money they have raised. $25 million.
Oh, just a couple of dollars
over the last few years.
Wow.
To double the size of the Lincoln Children's Zoo. So that conversation is coming this week at NebraskaGems.com. Where do we want to go? We want to do the get off my lawn right now?
Let's do. We missed last week because we both were going to yell at the Dolphins for the Tua concussion issue, and we just had too much other stuff to get to. But
okay, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
I tweeted it out. My hole-in-one this weekend. It's like your fantasy football team. Nobody wants to hear about your fantasy football team. Nobody wants to hear probably about your hole-in-one. But I hit a hole-in-one from 157 yards with a 7-iron. It was at Firekeeper Resort, Golf and Resort. It's right by the something brand. I don't know what the name of the damn casino is. That's right next to it, but played Firekeeper, and I love it. It was it's big fairways. I play the Lincoln Country Club a lot, and I love the Lincoln Country Club, but Lincoln Country Club does not have big fairways. So if you don't hit the fairway, you're dead in many cases. I like having 100-yard fairways.
Yeah, I think most guys are fans of big fairways.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being serious.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it helps me that I'm fairly straight, but I don't hit it. I can't bomb it. And so you get the bombers out with a course with big fairways. It's tough to beat them.
Yeah.
So I get them on my courses with lots of trees, and then I have a chance. Shorter course. But I did it a hole-in-one, my second of all time. I hit one from about the same distance with the 7-iron. So my 2 hole-in-ones have been with 7-iron.
And of all the times I played golf with you, the 7-iron is normally the oddball in your bag because you either break it or lose it, and you go buy a random one used, or you steal it out of somebody else's bag until you break it or lose it. So was this an actual part of a set?
It's funny. This one was not a part of a set. I had to order it from Callaway. It was I own Callaway's, but I thought I'll try graphite. So I got a graphite iron from Callaway used, and actually Callaway.com pre-owned is a good website to go to if you're looking for golf clubs, and they don't pay me a damn dime to say that. But I did lose my other 7-iron. I ordered this from Callaway pre-owned, and probably wouldn't have hit a hole-in-one with the last 7-iron. It either would have been lost or stolen, or, as you say, I do that all the time. But get off my lawn, because nobody cares about my hole-in-one, although I did tweet it out and got a lot of likes on that. So, my second of all time hole-in-one, and it hit it about 140 on the top of a hill, kept rolling about 20 yards, right? And about 10 feet, I got, that's got a chance. 5 feet, that's got a really good chance. And after that, it's in. And there's a moment where you celebrate with your friends, and they're going, wait a minute, that went in. And so you don't know what to do. And so you do the chest bump. You run from 20 yards away and fly in the air about like Phil Mickelson, 2 feet in the air, if that, and do the chest bump. And that's how we celebrated.
So did you knock the wind out of yourself?
Yes. We had to quit for the day. It was on the 16th hole. So that was nice. It was at the end of the round. It was number 16.
Well, the other question I have is, do you still have the 7-iron, or did you lose it in the celebration?
I did not lose a club this weekend. And you know me, I'm dropping clubs all the time. Wedges, putters, 7-irons. If I'm not snapping them, I'm throwing them into the woods or into the lake. But you'd be proud of me, Mike. I don't have the temper that I used to on the golf course.
I would miss it. I'm going to have to start playing again, and I got to see this.
You'll have to be in our ticket league next year.
We'll see.
I know
we'll
you got through back problems.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get the old back squared away. I've got to get off my lawn this week, and I'm going to give it to the Fox announcers that called the Nebraska-Rutgers game on Friday night. It's a tough job. I get it, but they're just seeming incompetence at times about the game of football, about what was going on, and their incessant need to call the Rutgers defense the black shirts over and over and over and over again. And it was almost on purpose to put a little jab at Nebraska and Nebraska fans. And I just thought it was childish. I thought their broadcast was kind of immature and unprofessional. And you're a big time network, man. Find somebody that can call a game, because those two sucked.
Prairie Band Casino is where we watched the game. I was trying to think of the name of the casino. And you can't hear the sound, so I didn't hear that. So that's a good get off my lawn nominee. But you know what? If Nebraska doesn't want the black shirts, and they haven't brought them back yet, maybe Rutgers is thinking we'll take them.
I get it. Their uniforms were black, but it was almost every time anyone from Rutgers made something other than just a normal play. Oh, look at those black shirts from Rutgers.
Yeah, jerks store called. They're all out of those announcers. Number 5 on my best coaches available for Nebraska football. We never got to this. But number 5 is Lance Leipold. He drops with the loss, but Kansas, with their backup quarterback, played a really good game this weekend. They lose to TCU 38-31. Lance Leipold is my number 5 for Nebraska football if they're looking for a coach.
I'm going to go Dave Doran, North Carolina State. They're 5-1, ranked 14th in the country.
I've got Matt Campbell. They keep losing. They lose a lot of close games. They're like Nebraska of last year. Iowa State loses again to the Fighting Adrian Martinez. Oops. Slip of the tongue there. Adrian Martinez wins again. He's 5-1. That's obviously because he's playing on a much better team. They win at 10-9 over Iowa State and Matt Campbell.
I've got Dan Mullen at number 4, debuting in my top 5.
He's
Wild,
on TV,
crazy
right?
pick. I don't know what he's doing.
I think
don't
he's
care.
a TV commentator.
I'm going to throw him number 4 on my list. 103 and 61 overall at Mississippi State and Florida. 7-3 in bowl games. Dan Mullen's my number 4.
Dave Aranda at number 3 for me. Baylor, they did not play this weekend. They lost some close games. You know what? I started noticing if Nebraska's looking for a coach, just root for Mickey, because there's no home run hire on my list. No. Even Dave Doran. I mean, there's a home run hire. Yeah, go get Nick Saban. You're not getting Nick Saban. Then what are you going to do?
Call Dabo.
Then you call Dabo, and you're not going to get Dabo either. And you're probably not going to get Dave Aranda, but he is number 3 on my list.
Number 3 on my list, Dave Clawson of Wake Forest. He was on there last week. I think he's still there. I just like the way they play, and I think it'd be an interesting fit.
At number 2, I've got Chris Kleinman. The Jayhawks have fallen from the unbeatens, but Kansas State continues to win. They did have that trip up to Tulane, but Chris Kleinman has been really good with Kansas State. I've got him at number 2.
Number 2, I've got current interim head coach Mickey Joseph. I love the brutal honesty and the bluntness in the press conferences, and I like the way his team's playing. They've just got to figure out something to do with that offensive line.
Number 1, I've got Mickey. A month ago, they would not have won that game on Friday night. And you can say they would have played close because they did all of last year. But the grit has definitely turned around from earlier this year, at least. So I've got Mickey at number 1. I hope he wins the gig.
I've got Lance Leipold. I know that Kansas lost, but it's just the guy. He just does nothing but win. That's the bottom line. And at the end of the day, score more points, win more games, have success. He's done it everywhere he's been, and he's number 1 on my list this week.
I've talked to people from Kansas that said Kansas will step up and pay him because it may not be just Nebraska and Wisconsin. Heck, who knows who will be looking for a football coach at the end of this year. There always are about 5 good jobs, and we're going to have at least that many this year.
Well, Nebraska's got as deep a pockets as anybody else and a lot of other ancillary things that other schools don't have, like the fan base and the amenities and nutrition and brand new facilities.
And Purdue this Saturday at West Lafayette. They won't be home in Lincoln. 13.5-point favorite Purdue. Do you like that?
I do. I think that's probably a good line, and I'll be honest, I'll probably take the Huskers in the points.
Yeah. I think the Huskers have a chance to hang around. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you.
Parent-teacher conferences are a key ingredient in your child's academic achievement. I'm Jenny Benson, a teacher and president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Head into your parent-teacher conference with notes and questions. Share details with the teacher about your child and life at home. Ask about your child's strengths and weaknesses and how you can be supportive. Help us make this your child's best school year yet.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this